All right. Okay, so we want to start our class today, and our goal is to be able to finish implementation and assessment. Now, when we talk about implementation, we've talked about this is the step that we are. Okay, yeah, we're missing my way. This is the step that we are. This is the step 4 of the risk management framework process. You start from step 0, preparation, categorization, selection of controls. Now we have gotten to the implementation of controls. Now, one of the things that confuses many people here, when we say implementation, even though the word is implementation, we are not the people doing the actual implementation. But what we are doing is that we are the ones that are writing how the controls are supposed to be implemented. So we don't write, we don't do the actual implementation as in putting in the configurations, but we are the ones that are writing how the controls are supposed to be implemented. Now, when it comes to implementation, that is why over here we say that what we are doing is we are writing and describing how the controls are implemented, installed, and used within a system. Then we are also developing our SSP. Does that make sense? So we are writing how the controls are supposed to be implemented. Then we are also making sure that we are developing our SSP. Now, everything that we have done from step 0 all the way to implementation, this is where we have to put all together. And that is what we form the SSP. And we're going on into our SSP, but our SSP is our Bible. Our SSP is the document that contains everything about our environment. It's like I come to your house and you have a document or you have a book that tells me everything about your system, about your house, where the doors are, where the windows are, where your closet, your TV, your dining table. And so that SSP document contains everything within our environment. And that is SSP. And so that is what we put together during this time. And we are going to go over some of the documentation and things but we develop a lot of things during this end. Now, the first thing that we want to talk about, the system security plan. Now, after developing or after tailoring down our controls, our next objective is to be able to make sure that we develop these documentations. And when I say these documentations, remember, every document in our environment, we call it artifacts. Artifacts. So we develop our various artifacts. The first one is the SSP, that is the System Security Plan. Now, this is a comprehensive document that outlines the security controls and the safeguards that have been implemented to protect our information system. And so our categorization, our selection of controls, our asset inventory, all those things goes into our SSP. Then we also develop our security, our configuration management plan. Now, the reason why we call it SSP is because, one, it is a plan of our security architecture. That same document that we are talking about will also have everything that you need. So every question, so when the assessor comes, the assessor is going to request for the SSP. Get the SSP, then now start asking questions. So it will give you an overview of the whole security architecture of the organization. Any questions on the SSP? Okay. Now let me give you a quick overview of these ones, and afterwards we can be able to move on. The second one is the configuration management plan. Now, a configuration management plan is a management, it also outlines the policies and procedures for managing changes and our system documentation over time within our environment. And that is our configuration management plan. So any changes that is being done in our environment, the configuration management plan is the one that is actually, we document everything in there. All these are artifacts. All these are artifacts. Then we also have the contingency plan. Contingency plan is our plan B. Our contingency plan also helps us to make sure that we have documented where our backup is. What are the things that are going to do? Everything that is related to our backup, or in case that our system is not working. Everything that is associated with it, our configuration management plan is doing it. Then we have our disaster recovery plan. A disaster recovery plan also, just like the name goes about, disaster recovery. If we have any disaster within our environment or any disaster happens, what is the next thing that we are doing? We are going to our disaster recovery plan. How are we supposed to go about it? What do we do? And it is a subset of the contingency plan. And that focuses more on making sure that we are recovering from the disaster that we find ourselves in. Then we have our control policies and procedures, or our standards of procedures. Now that also is like the way we talked about when the one I showed you when we were doing the when we're writing our controls. And that is our policies and procedures, and we need that. Any questions on these that I have explained? We are going to more a little bit into details. Yes, the SSP contains all the access controls together with all the other controls, everything. So the SSP is divided into two main parts. The first part that the SSP contains, the first part is the part A. The part A is supposed to contain the categorization, the name of our system. Have I showed you guys an SSP in this class before? Okay, I'll show you one soon. The categorization, the control selection, all those things goes into the part A. The part B has to do with controls alone, because the controls are a lot. Now, the part A will contain the system architecture. We call something our inventory, asset inventory, our interconnected systems. You remember we talked about interconnected systems. Every system that is connected to our system, we want to make sure we have an idea. All those will be there. Does that make sense? And that will be the part A. Then the part B will contain the part B will contain the controls, the implementation statement for the controls, and all those things. That will also go into part B. I'm trying to open up my SSP. I have a copy of the SSP, and show you. I think I can even find one online, but I'll show you that very quickly. Now, these also are benchmarks or checklists that I need to let you guys, that I need you also to have an idea about. One is called STIX, and the other one is called CIS. Now we have CIS controls and we have CIS benchmarks. CIS controls and CIS benchmarks. Now, the CIS benchmarks is an industry standard benchmark that we use to govern or protect our environment. Now, they are based on industry standards and the best practices that we use. So it's more like a group of controls that we use. And that has come together to form the CIS benchmarks. The STIX are also standard, but the STIX is only used by the DoD. So if you are going to say you have worked for the DoD, then you need the STIX. But if you have not worked for the DoD, then you will not need your STIX. But all of them are controls that have been put together. Now, when it comes to SSP, or when it comes to implementation, now we call something an implementation status. What is implementation status? Now, implementation status means that the controls that we are writing, some of them will say that they are implemented. Some of them will say that they are not implemented. Some of them will say that they are partially implemented. Some of them also will say that they are planned, and some of them they are inherited. Anybody who can tell me what the inherited means? I'm sure all of us watched the videos before, so we should have an understanding of this implementation status. If you watch the other video, how do you understand this implementation status?
The inherited one is the after when the controls have already been put in place, the risk that is left is the inherited ones.
Yeah, but when we say that implementation status is implemented, it's inherited.
Yes.
Yeah.
Inherited
Yeah.
is before we put our control measures.
Okay. When we say inherit, that is right. But I'm saying that when you say an implementation status is inherited, what does it mean?
It's an implementation that's already there.
It is that implementation is already there.
Can I please try?
Yeah, you can try.
Implementation inherited is what is left after.
Wait. Implementation status. When we say that, okay, this control is an inherited control, the implementation status says inherited. What do we mean?
Let me say some controls already within the environment.
Okay. That's exactly it. When we say that the control when we say that this control is inherited, meaning that we are borrowing it or it's already there. Let me give you an example. In your house right now, you have a laptop that you are using. You have a printer. Let's say you have a printer, you have a TV. Now, then you also have, let's say, a router. All of these devices needs an ATO. And so when we say all of these, because all of these devices need an ATO, you want to make sure that all of them go through the process. Now, the first one maybe have gone through the process, and the first one that went through the process maybe is your router. So this time around, your second one is your laptop. But because your laptop is going through the process, now NIST is saying that, okay, you need a key to enter into the house. You need, let's say, username and password. You need, let's say, fire extinguishers. Because you implemented or you already have what is the name? Your router, and it has gone through the process. You already have some of these doors and some of these things in place. Because you have them in place and you are doing for another ATO, what you can do is that you can borrow or you can inherit these controls from the other system. Does that make sense? Yeah. So when we say that an implementation status is inherited, what we are saying is that it is inheriting this control from a different control, from a different system or a different device. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain how I talked about it? Let me see if you understand what I mean. In your own ways.
In my own
or
way.
Anyway. Yeah. Or
Okay.
this is how you understand it.
Okay, so I think the other time you cited an example, say I have a system, you have a system, and we are both using Zoom, but then I have like an antivirus that is being used to scan the system. So instead of you going to get a different antivirus somewhere, you would rather use mine antivirus to scan your system, and that is the inherited.
Yes. That's it. Does that make sense to everyone now? Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah, go ahead. Who wanted to talk? You can go ahead.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Then the next one is compensated. When we say compensated, meaning that you don't have the actual control. So like this antivirus, let's say we are saying that we should use, let's say, Norton antivirus. But we don't have Norton antivirus. But we have Avast antivirus. So even though we don't have Norton, we are saying that we are borrowing the Avast antivirus and use the Avast antivirus in place of the Norton antivirus. Or they want us to be able to use, let's say, a PIN code to authenticate. We cannot have a PIN code, but we can use a password. So we don't have the actual control that they are asking us, but we can use a compensated control, another control to represent what we have for the meantime until we go and get the actual control in place. Any questions? Okay. Partially implemented and implemented. Anybody can explain it to us when we say partially implemented and fully implemented?
Partially implemented can be said to be half done, and then fully implemented is working, being in place.
Okay, so fully implemented means that the actual control, everything under the control is done. Partially implemented means that you see that when we look at the actual controls. When I was showing you, remember I was telling you that we have part A, part B, part C, D, E. Now means that maybe you have part A and B done, but the C and D you don't have it. That could be partially implemented. That okay, you have done A, B, C, but under C you didn't do B and D or B and C. Then you see that then there's a problem. Then that's partially implemented. And fully implemented, as she said, you have everything that is done, and that is fully implemented. Any questions on these? Okay. Now, let's get into the SSP. Now, let me look for the SSP. And I was looking at downloading it and I got distracted a little bit. But yeah, now, Now the SSP has 4 main parts. We have the system introduction. We have the overview, the requirements, and the control. The first 3 parts is what comes together to form the part A of the SSP. And the second part comes together to form the part B of the SSP. What is the part A of the SSP? Now, this is how an SSP document looks like. The system security plan of Hope Healthcare. Now, always remember that after the final document is done, everything that says instructions, you take it out. Some of these things, when I talk about it, it sounds like joke, but when you get a job, these are some of the things that can give you away. Because it's an industry practice. Everybody who have worked in this environment, if you say you have done this for even 1 year, you know that all these instructions, you delete it after you are done. So those are things that you really need to be able to watch. Now, what is an SSP? Now, you see that when we start, this is the introduction that we are talking about. You see, it's talking about who prepared by, then you come and enter your information here. So my job in one of my companies is supposed to do the SSP. So I will have a template of this, then I'll come organization name. Let's say Port IT. Then address 5636 Beckard Drive. But you see, it needs to, I've not written it all. It needs to be able to fill up the space that is in there. There you go. So all this is supposed to be out. If it's not applicable, not applicable. So 4, 5, 47, 1. Then now they are going to ask you, and it's going to take a lot of time. So we don't give you, so SSP, it takes us about 3 months to 4 months for us to put together the SSP. Because I have to get all this kind of information and to be able to put all this information in there. Then who is this going to be prepared for? I need to write a cloud service provider's name. Then the revision that has gone on with this system. The first one is original publication. Mostly we will name it, let's say V.1. So we'll come here inside the table, insert to the right. Then I can I'm going to slowing down. It doesn't want to work the way we want it. But yeah, so you have the description, the document, inventory. I wanted to do something to show you, but it's not allowing me. So then you take the instructions up. Now, this is a table of content. This is where I really need you to be able to focus. Now, when you look at the table of content, you see that the information system name. And over here, we are getting into the overview. The information system categorization. So the categorization that you did, the assignment that I gave you, the categorization, this is where I picked it from, these documents. But they will not give you the information type. So I selected the information type to make sure that information type is in there. Who is the system owner? We need the information on the system owner, the authorizing official. You need all of those things in there. Then now it's going to ask you about the information system type. What kind of system are we going to deal with? The general, and all this information will be provided to you. All this information will be provided to you. All this information, the users, the network architecture, the data flow, the ports and protocols. So all the information that you are gathering, you are just gathering information about the system because you want to make sure that you understand the system very well. And when you are an assessor, you are doing the same thing. Then after you have done the first part, and this is where the second part comes in, the controls. And this is where you have to come and list all your controls. If you look at this very well, you realize that it's all the way at the top. So these are all the controls. You have the controls is about 2/3 of the whole document. I mean, this document is not fully filled out, but if it's fully filled out, you see all those things. Now, let me go to the top and show you a few things. Now, over here, you see that the system description, everything is here, the requirements and everything, the ports and protocols. Now, let me take you to the categorization. So you see that this is where the categorization will be. So the document that you did, then when you come here, you come and make sure that you fit it in here. And this is a template. So when you come, just like the way you did the assignment, same way, you fill the template out. And I can show you where you can also get the templates when I'm done. So you do this, you categorize your system, then you come and do your high water mark. And after all your categorization come out, then you come and fill your system owner's name, their title, authorizing official, all those information. Then now I want to head you into what kind of system. Is it a public? Is it a private? Over here, you see that it's defining what the public and the private means also to you. Then system overview. This is we call this a boundary diagram. A boundary diagram. So this is where you come up with your scope. Where you want to look at, okay, this system that we are talking about, how is this system like? What are the boundaries? Where does it connect? What kind of systems are they connected to? Where does this system sit within our environment? Then now you want to see the type of users who have access to this system. And all this information that I'm telling you about, the system owner is going to provide. There's a team that will have all this information. One of my jobs, what I do, we literally have a team that is in charge of categorization. And when they are in charge of categorization, when they fill all this information in. So the part A, they have to do they will provide everything. I just have to go and pick the document and just be filling the part A out. The part B is where I have a lot of job because that is why I have to be able to do it myself. Typical question that they ask you is, what does the SSP contain? And that's why I'm taking time to be able to go through so that they can see some of the things that the SSP contains. Then you see how does data flow. So that some diagrams that it has a data flow diagram, a network architecture diagram, and the authorization boundary diagram. Then the type of users, the ports and protocols, then now the controls. Now, I just want to take us to one or two of the controls so that we can see. So what they do is that they write the control for us. So they put the requirements here. And he's saying that this is the part that we have to come and fill in. So AC1A. Now this is AC1A. Develop, document, and disseminate to. So this part, what they are required action is that they come and fill it out here. Then the B, you need to come and fill it out. Same. B1, B2. Then you are done with the first part. Then now they will come here that what is the solution and how is it implemented? What is the solution and how is it implemented? You need to be able to do all those things and also add all those things. So please give me a minute to just Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry about that. I had my cousin calling me and I thought it was very urgent. So, yeah, so this is the AC. So you fill this out. Then you see the status that I was telling you. Over here, you see they have implemented, partially implemented, planned, alternative implementation. Now, when you see under it, it says that control origination. Control origination. Now, when you say control origination, what it's trying to tell us is that the control that we are talking about, it is inherited. Please listen to me very well. It is inherited. But where are they inheriting this from? Is it a service provider corporate, a service provider system specific, or a service provider hybrid? Now, when they say a service provider system specific, meaning that it comes with a system, and these are what we call the information systems that are in the cloud. A service provider corporate means that they are inheriting it within the organization. And that is where they will have all those there to be, then you take it. A majority of all these things, all you are doing is asking questions, receiving those information, because the engineers are the ones who knows. The system admins are the ones who knows. But until you ask them, you won't get the results. But one of the things is that they don't understand the next requirement. So you need to be able to ask them what you are looking for. So all you have to do is try to understand, okay, AC2, what is it about? What are they looking for? Then you let them know. Then you tell you, then you use it to fill your SSP out. And majority of the time, they have already even filled some out in the organization. So it's easier when you are going through it. Any questions, please? Please ask questions. So, I want you to ask questions. Okay. Yes, you can get a copy of this SSP. I'll show you real quickly how to get one. Now, you can go SSP template. Federal. They have almost all the documents. They have a place that they have all of them that they have. So when you go here, you see that they have all the readiness assessment reports, all their stuff. This we'll talk about it poem. Not today, but so there's an annual assessment control sheet that they use. Where is the SSP? Okay, this is a SSP appendix. Okay. So over here, you see, then you hit download. So you see how it's saying there's probably a newer version of it, but it's the same thing. Yep, same. Then after you come to your controls. So these are authentications. You remember the e-authentication that we did? These are e-authentication, the IAL, you have to do all of them and all those things. E-authentication and all those things. All of them are in here. But when you come in here, I'll send you the link. When you come in here, you can be able to get all those documents. Then you can be able to develop your own, or you can be able to practice it. And an easier way also is what you can do is that SSP, let me see. Majority of the time, Homeland Security have yes. There are some organizations that, okay, looks like there's one here. Let me see if I can. This also a state organization, so it's similar but different templates. So there's also a different template, but they are similar. Yeah, these are templates. This is also for a university. So you see that they are all similar. All of them have customized yes in line with what the federal or the federal actually has. So they are all similar. But if you have one, you should be able to do the rest. So if you understand one, that's all that you need. Any questions, please, on the SSP? A typical question that you are asked that what is the content of the SSP? It's something that they really ask. Or can you tell us what goes into your SSP? Or how do you prepare for your SSP? How do you get that information for your SSP? And that's what you know that, oh, your system will not provide you mostly the information for the categorization. Then you meet with your network team or your engineers to be able to make sure that you are gathering the other information that you need. You get in your boundary diagrams and all your diagrams from your engineers. Then you are making sure that you are talking to the engineers also to understand how the controls are working. Then you document them effectively. And you can write all those down. Any questions on SSP, please? All right. Now, let's move to the next one. The next one that we have what we call the configuration management plan. Cute baby girl. Configuration management plan. Now, when we say configuration management plan, whenever you hear configure, always think about install or putting something together. Now, our configuration management plan is an ongoing process of identifying and managing changes to deliverables and other work products. And that is configuration management. But the plan is developed to define, document, control, and implement accounts for and audit changes within our environment. So we want to make sure that all the changes that are within our environment, how are we managing them? And our configuration management plan is what we use to do that, because we do what we call change control procedure. And it is also within our configuration management plan. Our change control procedure is whenever we are doing changes. Example, I told you that let's say that we live in a house, we are trying to document everything in this house. Now, whenever we decide to do any changes in this house, I have to go back to my SSP, pick up my configuration management plan. Then in my change control procedure, I need to record in there that I have made certain changes within my environment. I have changed the way my doors are. Now, I've changed my windows. I've changed the lights within my house. These are the changes I've made within the last year. So when anyone picks up my document or anyone comes, all what the person is doing is the person is making sure, or when the assessor comes, the assessor is making sure that first he looks at our change control procedure. Has anything changed within our environment? What have changed? What are the effects of the changes within our environment before they go ahead and do the assessment? And our configuration management plan always include the personnel, the responsibilities, resources, training requirements, administration, meeting the various deadlines that is what goes into our configuration management plan. Then the next one that we have, the plan and what is entailed in the configuration management plan. Some of these things, when I show you, it's easier. So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, sorry. So configuration management plan templates. Okay, I have one here actually. And so this is the configuration management plan. You see that it will control. Now you have your revision, everything similar to this one. Who is a project lead? All those things. Now, content I always say the content is more important because the stage you are in, you are preparing for an interview. They won't tell you to develop it, so I'm not worried about that for you. What I'm worried about for you is when they are asking you that what is in your configuration management plan, or in an interview, if you are talking about configuration management plan, how do you talk about the things that are in, like somebody who knows what is really in there? And so you talk about that, oh, it contains our change control board, our configuration items, our baseline configurations, our functional baseline, then we have our change control process, the change classification, the change control. And so what this configuration management plan is listening is how do we make changes within our environment? Who are the people that are involved? What kind of training goes on for these people? And have we classified the various changes that we are doing? And that is what the configuration management plan is about. So there is a team, and that is the change control board. And those have the responsibilities that any changes that goes within our environment, they need to be aware. Then we talk about our configuration items. What are our configuration items? Our configuration items are talking about the assets that we have. We are talking about the documentation that we have. We want to make sure that all the hardware is in our house, in our environment, we are aware of it. The network components. Why? Because we don't want anything to go missing that we are not aware of. And we also want to make sure that everything that we have, we are protecting it. And so that is our configuration management plan comes in. Then our baseline identification. Whenever you hear baseline, you are talking about minimum. So when we say a baseline, over here you see that they define that a baseline is a collection of information describing technical characteristics of each CI. CI just means configuration item. Yeah, CI just means configuration item. So all we are saying is that the baseline configuration, that we are making sure that we are describing all our baseline configuration or all the settings or the things that we are installing, we are gathering them. And that's a configuration management plan. I need you to understand configuration, what configuration management plan is. What are the contents of the configuration management plan? You move on. You don't have to know everything that is in here. I don't even know everything that is in there. But the main key thing that you need to know about is the change control process or change control procedure. That one you need to be able to know, make sure that you are aware of it. Okay. Now I'll take that one also out. And we'll come back again. Please, any questions? Okay. We've already talked about it, so I'm not going to go into it. Then we talked about the CI, that's the configuration items. Now, it consists of settings and maintaining the baseline. We define the system architecture and the components in the environment. And we talked about the change control and change status accounting. What is the process of recording or processing of reporting everything that is within our CI? Now, security impact analysis. What is security impact analysis? Now, security impact analysis is the analysis that is being conducted to determine the extent to which changes in our environment affect our security. So any changes that we do within our environment, we are trying to do a security impact analysis to determine how it is going to affect the security portion of our environment. Example, we decide that we are changing our locks, or we decide that no, we are changing our antivirus. Now we need to do a security impact analysis to understand that these changes that we are doing within our environment, how is it going to affect the security portion of our organization? The new antivirus that we are buying, is it strong enough? If it is strong enough, can it protect our organization? What are some of the vulnerabilities that is associated with it? How do we deal with, let's say, any incident that happens or any breach that goes on? We need to make sure that we are taking care of all those things. Any questions for security impact analysis? And that is also a document. I know many people, that's how you learn. So you like the documents. And I'll show you. Well, this is the security impact analysis. So when you look at the content of the security impact analysis, this is what it has. So we just fill this out, make sure that we fill it out. Somebody will come and review it. Then afterwards, we put it down. There was another one that I saw. This is just a worksheet, but there was another one that I saw. That's also a worksheet. Yeah, I'll have it. Where is it at? Yeah. CMS always have. Okay, and we already did it. Let's see what the CMS has. Yeah, okay, they don't have the templates, but they are just talking about it. Yeah. But that's a security impact analysis. It's just a document. I've been asked a question about it, but the only question is what is the difference between an SIA and a BIA? Security impact analysis and a business impact analysis, because they work hand in hand. But we go into the next documentation we want to talk about. We are going to talk about contingency planning, and we want to talk about the BIA, RPO, and RTO. What is a contingency plan? A contingency plan is a process that prepares an organization to be able to respond coherently to an unplanned event. A contingency plan is sometimes referred to as a plan B. And this also, and to also help you, all these are controls. You might not have thought about it, but all these are controls. When you look at your NIST 853, which one? The first one, the configuration management plan. You see the change control procedure is here. You see your security impact analysis, configuration management. So automatically, if you know what SIA is, if you know change control, if you know baseline configuration, you should be able to know at least 4 controls. You don't have to know it you have to be able to explain it. All you do in an interview is you open this sheet. As soon as this page comes out, you should be able to talk about it. You understand it. You don't necessarily have to open it. So, and all this goes into your SSP. So everything that is in your SSP, literally, they are controls. And the next one we are talking about contingency plan. You see over here, contingency plan, contingency training, contingency plan testing, contingency plan update, alternate storage sites. If you have revised it, all these 5, you should be able to explain them. Why? The contingency plan is your plan B. The training is the training that goes on to make sure that we are preparing ourselves for our plan B. The contingency plan testing is where we try to go through the simulation to be able to understand if this happens, how are people going to respond to it? Update is just the update that we do in our contingency plan. 5 controls, you know it there and there. So when I say that you get to know the control, that's what I mean. It's not because I barely have done anything on this, but because I understand what contingency plan is. I am able to use that to be able to explain some of these. And in an interview, they can ask you, you can let them know. I'm so sure that the contingency plan you have encountered it one way or the other before. But as soon as you understand, it's easier to explain. Now, what is BIA? Oh, before we go, let me open the contingency plan and show you how that document is also. And all those documents, it's not like I just Googled them. Contingency plan template. So you see this, you see the content of it. System description, the line of succession, responsibilities, testing and maintenance. All those things. So when you are being asked that, okay, what goes into your contingency plan? You know the things that go, there are roles and responsibilities. The testing, you have tabletop testing, and they have technical testing. No, there's another, I'll talk to you about it very soon. So the notification activation plan, the recovery operations, and those are the things that goes into your contingency plan. But it's pretty straightforward. I will let Justice upload all these documents on there for you. Or I'm just going to send it also into the chat, just in case. Okay, now let's go to business impact analysis. When we say business impact analysis, anybody can help us what they understand by business impact analysis. You don't look on what it's on. Tell us, what do you think? Anyone? Oh, you're not talking today, so we are waiting for you.
The impact.
I actually talked about it. Just the way we define the SIA. We say security impact analysis. This is also business impact analysis.
Maybe from a lay person's view, it's a way of measuring the impact of maybe external forces on the business.
Okay. Partially, you were close. But I understand why you say that. Anyone else? Now, a business impact analysis is conducted to determine the extent that a risk or any risk within our environment is going to affect our business. That if there's any disaster, if there's any event, how it is going to affect our business. And this is the document. So this is a document from the business impact analysis. Now you see the content. Who are the point of contacts? What are the system resources that we have? So if you compare this to the security impact analysis, now you realize that the security impact analysis was talking more of security stuff. This is talking more of what? Business. typical interview question. What's the difference between SIA and BIA?
One is business, one is security.
Yeah, when you say like that, they know that you are being smart about it. But you can let them know that now this is done to be able to determine the extent to which an event can harm our security or can harm our environment, and this also focus on the business. Just be able to add a little more words. Do you get it? Yeah. One focuses on the impacts on the security architecture of the organization, whereas the other one also focuses on the impact on the business itself. And all these are done when we are doing a change control procedure, when you're making any changes. Now, let me give you a typical example. And these examples you can use at the workplace. That imagine that your system, your environment, you used to save all your information on-prem, or you used to have, like, we call something servers. Servers are like hardware that we used to be able to store our information. But this time around, we are moving into the cloud. Before the organization will take everything that they have into the cloud, they want to do a business impact analysis. They also want to do a security impact analysis. They want to understand that is a cloud secure for us to be able to have our environment information there. What will be the impact on our business in case we store our information in the cloud and it fails? Or we search for certain information and we can't find them. And so they need to be able to understand. Sorry, they need to be able to understand the two. To be able to know that this is the impact on the business. Then now, after you have understood the impact on the business and the impact on our security architecture, what do? If you are following me, you should know what to do. We have done our security impact analysis, and we have also done our business impact analysis, and we know we have developed that, okay, these are some of the risks that we have been exposed to. What do we do?
Then we're going to prioritize resources on how to recover things when they happen, or to make sure they don't happen.
The latter part, but both of them are right. But what is the next immediate thing that you do? We are close, but we are very, very close. I'm just looking for one word. What a shock. Bill.
You put in controls or measures.
That's all. That's all. Controls. you get the point I'm making? Yeah, Emmanuel, are you with me here? Yeah, you have seen the potential risk. The probability that this can, you have realized that, your maybe there's a leakage, one of your windows is broken. And so there's likelihood that when it rains, it's going to come into your house. Do you understand? Now, you are not going to wait for it to rain and flood before you go and close that window. But as soon as you realize that there is a potential that can happen, what do? You put in controls. I hope that makes sense to us. You just put in controls. That's all you are doing. If the controls that you put in doesn't work, or if you put in your controls and you address the risk that is involved and it doesn't work, that is where your residual risk comes in. So your residual risk is where your recovery plan comes in. I put in the controls. What is left? The last thing that is left is that if anything happens, we find a way of fixing. And now we have to go through the recovery. I hope this is making sense to us. Ellis, are you there? Ellis, I like to worry you. Are you there? What do you think about what I'm saying? Or can you explain what I'm saying in other words? Hello, Ellis. We are waiting for you. Okay, Ellis cannot talk.
I'm sorry, I was in the middle of eating.
Okay, no problem. But did you get what I said or you didn't get what I said?
No, I did not.
Okay, no problem. We are forgiving. But the point I'm trying to make is that when you have you've done your security impact analysis, you have done your business impact analysis, you have seen that there's a potential risk. Because there is a potential risk, all you want to do now is what? Put in controls. And as soon as you put in the controls, you are protecting yourself. So if you put in controls and the control doesn't work, your residual risk comes in. Exactly. You have built your house, you know that there are armed robbers who can come and harm you in your house. So this time around, you're not going to say that, oh, let me go and do what do you call it? It's like you put in a watchman, you put in dogs, exactly, to protect your house. Or let me build a wall, or let me go and get 24-hour security. So that nobody comes in and comes and harm your environment. That's a typical example that you can give. And there's an example that I used to give, I think I've told you before, that you live in a house, you live a house which is close by a beach, there's a potential that the house can flood. So what you do is that you raise up a wall. Your wall becomes your control that you have put in place. Then there's holes in your walls. The holes in your wall become vulnerability. So you are now apply patches to take care of the holes in the walls. So that's what you are trying to do. Any questions, please? Okay. If there's no questions, we go ahead. Now we are done with our security impact analysis. The next thing that we want to talk about here. Where are you? Okay. We have done our BIO. So the BIA is the process to determine and evaluate the potential effects of an interruption to our critical business operation as a result of a disaster, accident, or emergency. Now, under contingency plan, we call something RPO and RTO. Now, there are two types of contingency plan. We call it an RPO and RTO. The RPO refers to the recovery point objective, whereas the RTO refers to the recovery time objectives. Now, the recovery point objective means that what are the number of files that we may be able to recover before our company resumes normal business. Whereas the recovery time objectives talks about the targeted duration of time which a business process can be restored. So RPO refers to the recovery point objective, which talks about the number of files that our organization will be able to recover. Whereas the RTO talks about the recovery objective, which talks about the targeted duration of time which an organization process can be restored to normal business. Any questions on the two? It's a typical interview question, so please take note of it. What is RPO? What is a contingency plan? What is an RPO and what is an RTO? Any questions, please? Then we have the contingency plan components. Wow, I need to finish very soon. Contingency plan component. Now we have the initial phase, activation phase, recovery phase, and reconstruction phase. Now, these components has to deal with if anything happens, and we need to be able to use our contingency plan. There is a phase where we call the initial phase. That is where we assign roles and responsibilities. Then we have an activation phase. That is where we are active. We are notifying these various roles, people who are in various roles. Okay, this and this has happened. This and this needs to be done. And that is where we go to do the action. The recovery phase is where we are making sure that our alternative backup sites that we use, we are using that. Then our reconstruction is where we try to reconstruct our original sites. Because when something happens, our recovery backup site may be, let's say we live in, I live in Ohio. And if my recovery backup site may be in Paris. And so if something happens, then I might have to use my alternative backup site. So I have to go and use the alternative backup to make sure the business is running to a certain point. Then after the business resumes and it's running, now I have to find a way to be able to make sure that Ohio is back and running. But I wouldn't put Ohio that's why I have backup, because I want to make sure that the business is running 24/7. So I want to make sure that I'm using my alternative backup site. Then I will go ahead and use and take time to be able to make sure that Ohio is back and running and it's in good shape. Any questions? Always remember, or let me ask you this question. Why would you think that it is not advisable to put your backup site and your original site at the same place?
If there's a breach, it will affect both of them if they're both in the same place.
But let's say they cannot be in Ohio. The breach can happen in, let's say, Columbus, and I'm in Dayton. Or yeah, in Canada. But it's a similar concept. Because majority of the time, you need to also protect yourself against disaster. Imagine that there's a hurricane in Ohio. How did you get it? When there's a hurricane in Ohio, it's in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it might be at one side, it will definitely affect the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay that you take it outside. Yes, Ivano, you are right. Ivano says that a backup is like getting a generator as a backup plan in case there's do so. I not. That is why it's also always remember the backup site is at a very opposite direction or opposite location geographically. Then a contingency plan covers terms like we have backup type, we have backup site. Now the backup site, we have a cold, warm, and hot. When we say a backup site is cold, when we say it's warm, and when we say it's hot, what does this mean? Anybody who remembers what you learned? When we say a backup site is cold, warm, and hot. Have you forgotten or you didn't even watch these videos? What a shock. Okay. When we say a backup site is hot. And this section of the class, as we are going, I'm asking questions throughout. So please prepare yourself before you come. When we say a backup site is hot, means that it's ready to replace the actual site. It's ready to replace the actual site. When we say a backup site is warm, meaning that we have everything in place, but we are not using it. We have everything in place, but we are not using it. So it's not that ready. We've not plugged anything. But when we say our backup site is, we have plugged everything, but it's not working. But when it's hot, meaning that when the light goes off right now, our backup site can kick in. When it's warm, it's like, oh, we have to come and plug. We have wired it, but we've not plugged anything. But when it's cold, it means that we have everything there, but we have not put it together. When it's hot, it can be used right there and then. When it's warm, it means that we have everything there and everything is laid out. All we need to plug it. And when it's cold, it means that we have not even plugged anything yet. Then we have different types. We have incremental, we have differential, and we have full backup. Now, when we say incremental, or when we say a full backup, see, a full backup is a comprehensive type of backup where all selected data is copied or cloned in its entirety. So everything that is in there is copied and put there. And during a full backup, every file and folder chosen for backup is copied regardless of whether it has changed since the last backup or not. And mostly full backups are done periodically. And it is done sometimes monthly or quarterly, just to make sure that they are useful for restoring the entire system. So like everything that we are doing is okay, we have a full backup there. Imagine that we are recording this class. We say that, okay, we have gotten to 1 hour exactly. Let's go and save it. Or let's say every 30 minutes we go. So when it's 30 minutes, we go and save it. When it's 1 hour, when we go back, we are not just adding up the 30 minutes that we have done already, but we are making sure that the whole 1 hour that we have recorded, we are backing everything up again. 1 hour, 30 minutes, then we go back up the whole 1 hour, 30 minutes again. 2 hours, then we back up the whole 2 hours. We are done. And that is a full backup. A differential backup involves copying only the data that has changed or been created since the last backup. Now, unlike a full backup, which will copy everything that we have selected every time, a differential backup will capture only the changes that was made since the last full backup. And this reduces the amount of data that we transferred or stored compared to a full backup, while still providing a comprehensive snapshot of the recent changes. Then the differential is one that is faster and it requires less storage than a full backup. Why? Because when it comes to the full backup, so the differential, same example that we use. Now we come 30 minutes with backup. When it comes to the differential, when we come up again at a 1 hour time, we are not going to back up everything. We are going to back up only things that are from the minute 31 to 60. From 30 minutes to 1 hour. That is what we are backing up. But what we did from 0 to 30 minutes is already there. So we are backing up the changes that have happened since the last backup. Then the incremental backup captures only the changes, increments made since the last backup, whether it was a full backup or an incremental backup. Now, an incremental backup also requires space to store only the changes and only the data that has been added or modified since the last backup is copied. Now, an incremental backup is mostly suitable for frequent backups of systems with rapid changing data. They are often used in conjunction with full and differential backups to provide a balance between storage efficiency and data recovery. Remember, incremental backup captures changes since the last backup, whereas the differential backup captures changes since the last full backup. Because I'm sure you are thinking that what is the difference between the two? So when it comes to differential, it has to do the last full backup. But when it comes to incremental, it does only the changes. Does that make sense? Or is there any questions that anyone have? Okay. If we are good, I'm giving you a lot of information. And today is an information from implementation has to do with information. So, okay, thank you, Bill. Now, contingency plan testing. Now, there are two types of contingency plan testing. First one is the tabletop or the classroom exercise. Please, these are interview questions, so don't take it for granted. I beg you. And the second one are functional exercise or simulated exercise. Now, when we talk about functional exercise, okay, tabletop just refers to the walkthrough procedures without any actual recovery operation occurring. Then the functional exercise are more extensive and requires the event to be faked. So when you talk about tabletop, it's like what we are doing in this class. Okay, let's talk about, let's say right now, if the class goes off, what do we do? Okay, if my laptop and my video camera and everything goes off, I need to go for a phone. I can use my phone to join. Then we can do this, we can do that. Oh, okay, we have a plan. Let's put it down as our contingency plan. And that is our tabletop. And there's a control that tells us that this is required to be done annually. So every year, a contingency plan needs to be done. So there is a team, the team will meet and they'll be able to do this discussion like I'm doing with you right now. But when it comes to the functional or the simulated, we need to make sure that we are acting it out. That is why the name says simulated or functional. We need the event to be faked. So what we do is that we will intentionally go and switch off the light in this house. And let's see what happens. Then now we need to have somebody who will be documenting everything. That, okay, when the lights goes on, what do I do next? Okay, I need to pick up my phone. Okay, if I'm picking up my phone, I need to check and make sure that I have enough battery to be able to join the Zoom. Oh no, when the light goes off, I'm not going to have a Wi-Fi because my internet is going to go off. Okay, I can use my phone's Wi-Fi. And all these things are things that we are thinking through and we are discussing. And we are documenting it down. And that is what we call the simulated. So we will make it happen so that we will see the reality on the ground that when it happens, what do we do? Yes, fire drill. Exactly. So that when it happens, what do we do? Or what are some of the things that we do to make sure that this goes well? Then that is also the simulated. Any questions? Then we have the last one that we are covering for implementation is we are talking about incident response or incident handling. Now, when we talk about incident handling is an action plan for dealing with misuse of computer system, or when anything happens within the environment, how do we handle it? We have intrusion, we have malicious code, we have cyber theft, and we have denial of service. And all these things are events that can happen within our environment. But we need to be able to prepare ourselves. So what we have is that we have a guide, an incident response handling guide. And that we use the NIST 861 to 861, yeah. So we prepare, we detect and analyze, we contain or eradicate, then we do post-incident activity. Just like contingency plan, here also we prepare ourselves. As soon as it happens, we need to be able to detect where it is. We need to make sure that we are analyzing to understand what is going on. Then now we come to containment because we don't want it to extend. So we will isolate the system from other ones that we have, then we now make sure that we are looking into what went on. Our recovery plan takes place. Then after it happened, we'll be able to document our post-incident activities. And that is our incident response plan. And that's how you have to prepare, you identify, you contain, eradicate, and recover. These are the things that we need to do during the implementation. Any questions, please? Questions, answers, remarks. All do everything. Any questions, please? If you don't ask questions, I'll ask you questions too. So what's the difference between SIA and BIA? Yeah, here again. Anybody can answer. What's the difference between SIA and BIA?
The SIA is a system or the process used to evaluate the potential risk to our security systems, whilst the BIA has to do with evaluating risk that can happen to the business.
I'll take partially. Anyone else can try. Anyone else can try. SIA and BIA. What do you think are the difference? Hey.
So one is how interruptions affect the security, and the other how those interruptions will affect our business operations.
Yeah. One thing is how it's going to affect our security, and the other one, how it's going to affect our business operations. Basically, that's what the tool is about. And you just make it so simple and so easy that the person cannot even ask you further questions about it again. Okay. Now I want to move to the next stage, that is assessment. Yes, it's a lot of information, so I don't know whether I should even put a pause here, because assessment is one of the most important things that I can never talk to you about. So I don't know whether I should. Yeah, I think I'll put a pause here, because assessment is very, very important to me. We'll do assessment and finish the whole RMF in our next section, because it's very, very important. I can't stress on it enough. Very, 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 very important. So I'd rather put a pause and start all over again. Then let's see if we can do some question and answers. Today you don't want to talk, but I think we'll go through the RMF process. Anybody want to try the RMF process? Or the introduction? Any of the two? Any of the two? RMF process introduction. The RMF process quite is on there, but I'll take it off. So you better look at it for the last. Yeah, I'll take it off. And if you are done eating, you can try your introduction again. Or Bill, you've not spoken. I saw your message, you've not spoken. So Bill, you're not expecting me to call you, but I'm calling you. Any of the two. Then Nana, you also have to come in. So, Ona, please prepare yourself. And there was silence. The risk management framework or your introduction, which of them? Today we didn't do interview prep. We didn't do interview, so that's our interview prep. Let's shake ourselves up a little bit. Man, I have to come and borrow the baby for some days. No. Please, who is ready for us? Introduction or action framework? Hey. Wow. Looks like we are not ready. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to try the risk management framework process.
Okay.
Okay. So the step one is the preparation stage. Step zero, sorry, preparation stage, which is also about agenda setting. And then it's at this point that the risk management strategy is put together, and then various roles are also assigned to everyone. And then we come to step one, which is categorization. And here we use the FIPS 199 and NEST 860 revision 2. And here we are grouping information according to its types. And based on how valuable they are to us is how we group them together. And then we come to the step 2, which is selecting security controls. And we use the FIPS 200 and NEST 853B. And at this point, we are putting in measures to protect our system and making sure the information types are all protected. After this, we tailor down our controls to whether they are system-specific, common controls, not applicable or hybrid. Then we come to the step 3, which is implementation of security controls. And we use the NEST 818, NEST 853 revision 5, and then NEST 834. And here we are asking ourselves, how do we apply these controls in our environment? And then we also develop our SSP using the NEST 818. Then our step 4 is assessing security controls, and we use the NEST 853A to do this. And here what we are virtually doing is assessing our controls to determine if they've been properly implemented or they're operating as intended. And then after this, we are going to document everything we've put together in our security assessment report, which is the SAR. And then the ones that failed will be put into the plan of action milestone. Then we come to the step 5, which is authorization, the information into the system, and we use the NIST 837 to do this. And we are making our decisions based on findings after the assessment. And through this, it will be determined if the ATO, DATO, or IATO would be granted. And then whatever the decision comes up, we know we have to do continuous monitoring. That is our step 6. And we do this with the NIST 800-137.
Interesting. Nice one. What do I think? I think that you're not practicing a lot, so you're not more comfortable with it. But I feel like when you see it, you'll be able to talk about it, which is a good thing. I intentionally left it on the screen for you so that you'll be able to tell us about it. Because I realized that you were reading from the screen. Or true or false?
Not entirely.
Not entirely, but where I thought you were reading from the screen is when you go to implementation. Because when you got to implementation, I realized that it was verbatim. So, but it's not a bad thing. And I say it's not a bad thing because in some interviews, I have my notes right open before me. So what I like about the fact that if you see it, you'll be able to talk about it. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah, that's what that one is a good thing. So, which is a good try, because in the interview they can't see your screen. So whatever you have on your screen, you are good to go. Okay, anybody want to try the introduction before we run up? We have 6 more minutes. If not, I'll give you 6 minutes of your time. And I was always tell you, but that's a good try, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. But let's practice it more. Let's practice it so that we become more confident about it. So that we can speak it, we can talk about it like this is something that we have done. All right, if there's no one who will end our class here for today, and we'll meet on Monday. I'm going to post the assignment and send it to Justice. He's going to post the assignment for us. It's obviously going to be the multiple choice, but I'll see. I think you add a behavioral and the kind of questions that you're going to be asked during this time also. So please let's prepare ourselves. And on Monday, we'll do it. We'll finish everything on the category, everything on the risk management framework on Monday. So we will do the assignments, authorization, we do that, and then continuous monitoring. Then we'll do that poem. Then afterwards, we'll go into our the other part of it. We are heading into, I think this is our 4th week or 5th week.
Should be our 4th week.
Okay, so yeah. So today is the end of the 4th week, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So we are still in line. Yeah. So we'll finish this on Monday. Majority of the time, by 4th week, I should be done with everything. I should be done with the first the risk management framework, but it's fine. We'll still make it through. So thank you. Yeah.
I'm sorry for cutting you, but for the quiz, I know you told us everything about that goes to Justice. I took I will not say one of it. I took some of it, and this system say I got everything 0. I took a picture of it and sent it to Justice. He double checked and he said it's from his end, I got everything right, but from my end it's 0. I don't know, it's a system glitch or whatever is going on. And he told me he was going to look
I had the same problem.
I had the same issue and I sent it to him too.
Okay.
Yeah, he said he was going to look into it. I said, okay, I give it 2 days or something. I took the test again. I got 0. I said, I cannot go that. At least give me 1. You cannot tell me all these questions is 0. You know, if that happened, then it doesn't give you the courage to do it anymore because you don't see the progression in yourself.
Yeah, but if you ask him, he should have the answers also for you. He has answers and the explanation behind every answer also. I sent him all those, so he should be able to provide you with all those. But I'll let him know so that at least if he can't fix it he's not fixing it, at least he should give you the answers so that you know that what you did was right. So I'll have a conversation with him about it. Yep, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Anything else? Family, thank you. We'll meet on Monday.